Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for part two of this video tutorial for your drawing sheets. What I want to do now is click on Insert New Element, and I'm going to start a new drawing sheet tab just to show you the process for how to create all this. And so you're going to go to Create Drawing, and a window is going to pop up, and it's going to say Receiving Templates. And I mentioned before, this should be the only template that you see now, GBS drawing sheet. I made it with the ANSI template, and so you click on that and just say OK. And it's going to load this drawing sheet environment for you. Basically, I just took a regular drawing sheet within the software, kind of stripped it down, simplified it, tried to mirror the drawing sheet that we had beforehand with our previous software. But here we go. So it's loaded. We're on sheet 1 of 1. And initially, it's going to give you a menu over here to insert the very first part or the first view that you want to see. And so in order to do that, you can go through the list here and select a part or an assembly. So if there's a certain thing that you want to insert, I'm going to start with the city block. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the city block part there. That then gets added to this menu. And so as you move your cursor over in the white space, you can see it wants to give me just kind of like the side view of the city block. It's really long, but really short. And I would rather see the full square, the full 2 by 2 inches in my front view. So your front view, as it is in your model tab, might not be the actual best front view for your drawing sheet. So because of that, I can play around with this a little bit, and I'm actually going to make the top view of my model the front view of my drawing sheet. So as long as you find the right view, you should be good to go. You can check the scale here. You can always go back and edit that later on, but 1:1 is going to work perfectly on this size drawing sheet. So I'm just going to click one time, left click to place my first view, and then it wants to give you an option to create your second view, which is going to be a projected view. You'll notice that the icon just moved from insert view to projected view with that one left click. So it really doesn't matter which one you do next. I guess I'll go off to the side here, and I'm going to left click again, and it creates those two views for me now, and I'm still in projected view mode. So if I click on my front view again and drag up, there's my top view. And if I click on the front view one last time and go to kitty corner diagonally, I'll get my isometric view. So a bunch of left clicking, projecting those views. Those are my 4 views I'm going to need. So now I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard. And that's going to cancel that projected view mode. From here, we just want to add dimensions, the overall height, width, and depth. So I'll grab my dimension tool. We have rules for dimensioning. We're not necessarily there yet in our curriculum. And that's why we're only doing the overall height, width, and depth. Basically, I'm going to put the height of this object and the width of the object on the front view. And then as for the thickness, I could do it in either the side or the top. I'm going to elect to put it on the top view and just grab this side line here and place my dimension of 0.125 of an inch. All right, now that I'm done placing dimensions, again, I'll hit escape on my keyboard to stop doing that. And then the last thing before we leave here is we want to right click on our isometric view and hit the option for shaded. So it'll bring the color or the appearance that we have applied in the model tab here to the drawing sheet. And so that's it. That's one drawing sheet out of 6 completed. So in order to make a new sheet, we're going to click here on the left-hand side to expand this menu out. There's a little icon with a plus symbol called Insert Sheet. So click on that. You're now on sheet 2 of 2, and you can rename these as you go. So for sheet 1, I could call that my city block multi-view. It's important to be very thorough with naming and keeping your stuff organized. So city block, multi-view. And now on sheet 2, I'm going to go ahead and add another part. And so I'll go to Insert View up here at the top. And I don't want the city block anymore. So I'm going to have to go to the Insert button here. And it brings up that menu that we started with. And you'll have to select your next component that you want to bring in. So I can do my Sears Tower if I want next. I'll select that. And for this one, a scale of 1:1 is going to be too big. So you can kind of play around with this a little bit depending on how big your model is. You can type numbers in or you can just scroll down the list here. So I'd like to make this 1:2 maybe. And that should leave enough space on the sheet for all my views. So again, click to place my front view. I would actually prefer my tower to be turned though. So I'm going to go back 1 second here. Instead of just seeing one spire on my front view, I'd like to see two spires. Let me do that real quick. Insert view, city block. I don't want that. I want my Sears Tower file. Grab this. And then you get the preview by putting your cursor on the white space. So instead of front, let me go to right. Let's check that. I think I want left because admittingly one side of my building does not have windows still. There we go. So that's the one I want. I want my left side as my front view on the multi-view. And then I'll move my cursor out to the right once it's finished loading. And I'll click again to place my other side view. And then from here, I'm going to click on the front view and drag up to project a top view. And then I'll do that one more time, but off to the corner to get my isometric view. And at this scale, it doesn't really fit. So I'm just going to place it off to the side here. Ideally, it would be right above the side view and kind of in line with the top view, but it's not the end of the world. So what I'll do is hit escape now. I'm done projecting views. Now I'm just going to click and drag the isometric view down onto the sheet. Make sure there's nothing half off the sheet. There shouldn't be any reason for that. So just place your items accordingly. And these views are actually tethered together. You'll notice if you move one view, the other views move with it, and they try to stay aligned with each other, and that's very important. Later on, when we start sketching these types of multi-views, that's a skill that you're going to have to work on, is keeping the views aligned. All the height lines and width lines are aligned between views, but that's something for a later date. So here I just want to add dimensions again, the overall height, width, and depth. I'll click up here on the top view to place my depth of the part. I can also do the width on this one too. It's no big deal. It's important that you don't double dimension or over dimension. So I did the width here. I'm done with that. All I have to do now is my height. So I'll grab the very top of the spire and the very bottom corner of my building. And I'll make that my height dimension. So click on those two corners, drag out from there. I don't know if it clicked. There we go. Place the dimension on center. And before I leave the sheet, make my isometric view shaded. So right click, show shaded view. So now that is two sheets that are done. Notice some of the areas on the title block here that are populating for you. So size, the size of the sheet, an A size sheet of paper is a standard sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 inches. The scale here is 1 to 2. The sheet is 2 of 2. It's drawn by the name that I gave my account, Justin Zumo GBS. So all of that's going to get populated for you. It grabs the name of that part as well and adds it to here. So another reason for you to go through and change the names of all the files that you have. And then the date will also get automatically populated. So whatever date you started working on that file is the date that you're going to see there in the bottom right-hand corner. So I guess I should rename this one. I'll call that Sears Tower Multi-View. And hit check mark. And we're moving on. So I got to do that for my next object, which would be the companion building. So insert sheet number 3, as it were. It's called sheet 1 because I renamed the other two. But I'm going to hit insert view. Go and grab that next part, the companion building. Select that. 1-to-1 should work fine for me. I just want to wait for it to render so I can see what my front view is. That looks good to me. I can see both of my little spires. So that looks pretty neat. I'll then move my mouse up so I can place my top view. Click on the front view again, move it out to the side to place my side view. And then again from the front and then diagonally to create my isometric view. And I would have preferred my ISO view to have both spires showing, but that's okay, no big deal. Hit escape because I'm done doing projected views. Right click over here, we'll make it shaded. And I got to add my dimensions again. So dimension tool, bottom corner to the top one here, 3 inches. And then for the width and the depth of the part, 0.45 and 0.45. So that is it for sheet number 3. I will call this companion building, multi-view. There we go. Next, we're going to do a sheet for our accessories. So I'll go to Insert, and I will start with the hot dog cart. Oops, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Make another sheet, sheet 4. Here we go. Insert the view. Go and find the hot dog cart. There we are. And like I mentioned before, I'm going to have different scales for each one of these. And I believe I did 2-to-1 for the hot dog cart. I think I actually might be able to do 3-to-1 on this guy. Yeah. So 3-to-1 on the hot dog cart. I'm going to place my front view, place my top view, project out my side view, project out the isometric view. Hit escape on my keyboard, go to insert again. This time I'll do my plaza sign. 3-to-1 is probably going to be too much for this size object, so I'll go back to 1-to-1. That looks like it'll fit just fine. Got my front view, drag up to make my top view, project out to the right to make my side view, and then project again to the corner to make the isometric view. Now lastly, I have my tree accessory, so insert view, insert, grab that part. Oops, selected the wrong one. We want steel tree. There we go. And I think I did this at 2-to-1. So let me set that real quick. 2-to-1. Yes. Front view, top view. Click here, project out. You'll notice the second 2 objects I placed all have a scale label attached to them. I think that's because the software or the application realizes that you're doing multiple parts. And the first one, the first part that I got on here was the hot dog cart. That's the one that gets added to the drawing sheet. And so we have 3 different things, but I think the software is thinking, okay, it's 3-to-1 if it's not labeled. And then otherwise, if it has a label, then that's the scale for that. I would prefer just to override this. So you guys can double click in here where it says 3-to-1 and just type varies. You might need to adjust your font size. So I can bring that down just a smidge, bring it down to the 0.12, hit the check mark. So I overrode that populated cell there on the title block. And then on my hot dogs, if I double click my view here, I can check this box for adding the scale label. So it'll add it to all of those views then. Suppose I might have to do that one by one. So just go through and add the scale label. Here we go. Hit the check mark. Go through and add shaded views. So show shaded view on your isometrics. No dimensions on this sheet, so this will pretty much be it, and we'll be moving on. Okay. Notice over here my side view is a little bit off. I'm just going to grab it and push it in, make sure nothing is overhanging onto the title block. So again, next sheet, number 5. This will be for our assembly. I just double click that, so I got 2 sheets ready to go here. I'll call this last one that I just did, rename accessories, multi-views. And then this one will be, right click here, go to rename, assembly, multi-view, multi-view, and check mark. And then the last one will be my exploded view bill of materials. So exploded view and BOM would be fine. Check mark for the assembly multi-view sheet. Go to insert view, insert. I'm going to switch over to assemblies now and grab my assembly file. Again, you can kind of play around with what you want your front view to look like. I'm going to change the scale of this down to 1/3. That should fit just fine. I could probably do 1 to 2, but that's okay. Place my front view. Place my top view. Project my side view. And project my isometric view. Once that view is created, hit escape on the keyboard because we're done using that projection tool. And we'll just make our isometric view shaded. It's taking a moment to render. Right click, show shaded view. That sheet should be done. And then I apologize, I think I noticed one other thing I need to go back and change here on accessory multi-view sheet. Let me go back here. The name hot dog cart got added to the title. And so that was because it was the first thing that we laid down. So you might also want to override this just to say accessories. That would be fine. Check mark. And then we can add labels to this as well too. So if you go to note, you can add these individual notes here for each of the items. So hot dog cart. Check mark. Down here, I have my sign. And over here, I have my steel tree. Okay, got all my labels on here. This sheet is now done. Sorry for that. I had to go back and add that. And then lastly here, my exploded view and the bill of materials sheet. So let's get to that. To add the bill of materials, I'm going to go to BOM table up at the top. It's going to pull in the one based off of the assembly. So I want to make sure I have my assembly file selected. Then I can place that in the upper right-hand corner here. And you can adjust the size, you can squeeze it in if you need to. The other thing is we want to insert the exploded view then. So you go to insert, grab your assembly, grab that assembly file, and then in here, instead of default, you want to go to whatever exploded view you created. So I'll go to explode 1. That was the original one that I used. You just have to check the scale here. So I'm going to make that smaller, go 1 to 4 perhaps. And then you want to make sure that you're showing it as an isometric because that was likely the view or the orientation that you made it from to begin with. I'll go 1 to 3, make it a little bigger on the screen. And then there's only one more thing to do, and that's going to be to add our callouts. And those numbers are, again, going to correspond with the item numbers here on our list. So to do that, just grab the callout, zoom into the part, make sure you grab an edge of it, click it once, move your cursor out to the side, click it again to place that number, and you can hit the check mark to solidify it. And again, 2 should then correspond with item number 2 and the name of the object that's in the bill of materials list. So that's pretty much it. Add the rest of your callouts and we're all good to go. Thanks for tuning into this tutorial. Hope you guys have fun with it, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.